DFS Deep Dive, Week 6. We're back with the Brian Craighead, Jordan Kernan. Let's get into it.
Don't just stay in the shallow end. Join us on a DFS Deep Dive on For Frequency's Sake. And now here are your hosts, Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan.
Take two. If you were with us just a minute ago, we had a technical difficulty. It seems to be par for the course here on the DFS Deep Dive. But as always, we're back. I'm Jordan Kernan. We got Craig. Brian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, Jordan. Like I was saying, if anybody was with us before, Jordan forgot it was Friday, and I haven't known the day all weeks. But I am looking forward to Sunday, and I know what that day is. So,
yeah, it's been a week, man. I worked 9 days straight just to get to today. I got the weekend off, so I'm pretty excited because that means football all day on Sunday. But we were making dinner, and I was just like, "Oh crap!" Like, I got a podcast, and so that's things go though. Life gets in the way sometimes, but we're back. We're here. We're ready to talk.
It was
football.
Worth the wait. It was worth the wait, but what was dinner? Was my question.
We had breakfast for dinner. We had pancakes, bacon, eggs, and my wife made biscuits. That's been her thing. Super good biscuits. She's mad because I didn't eat a whole one yet, but I plan on eating one here in a little while.
That sounds yum.
It was good stuff for sure. All right, Brian, what for games, man? I mean, we talked kind of a little bit before the show. We kind of talked about the pricing and how the pricing for the players that are kind of in between that kind of make your lineups work every week. Those games are either A in the morning or B in prime time. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, that's exactly the case, Jordan. So let's see here. What do we have tonight? First of all, know that they're bye again. But you got 4 teams on bye this week. You got the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. Then, like you were mentioning, there's 4 primetime games this week. We have another London game. The last week wasn't very exciting, I didn't think. The Vikings have, they've been playing really well. The Jets, not so much. And of course, they fired Salah. So that's part of it. Well, last night, the 49ers kicked things off. They beat the Seahawks 36-24. And Sunday morning, like I was saying, the London game, the Bears are favored by 1.5 over the hometown Jags. The Jags played in London almost every year, it seems. Sunday night, we got the big. Did we have another little technical glitch?
We might have glitched out there for a second. I think we were, you said the Jags. I think you ended with the Jags and the Bears.
Yep, the Jags and the Bears. Sunday night, we got the Bengals playing at the Giants. And then Monday night, we've got the Bills playing, let me think. Hold on just a minute.
The Jets. Bills and the Jets.
Yes, the Bills and the Jets. Bills at the Jets. So, yeah, those are our 4 primetime games. And then, as I always like to say, there are, I always look at implied totals, Vegas over-unders. I wasn't overly impressed with this week's slate, but we'll make things work. First game over-under is 47. Packers have an implied total of 26. Cardinals, 21. Second one, and the second highest on the slate, is the Ravens 29 versus the Commanders 22. The next one, both of these are late afternoon games. The Falcons have an implied total of 26, and they play at the Panthers 21. And then last but not least, we got an over-under of 52. The Lions 27.5 at the Cowboys 24.5. And those are kind of our high total games. What do you think about those, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm right on board with all four of those. Really, it seems like every other game other than those. I mean, like you're talking the Commanders and Ravens, the Cowboys and Lions, Cardinals, Packers, and then you said the Falcons and Panthers. Every other game just seems like it's going to be either a super big defensive battle or really, really one-sided. Like you got the Bucs going up against the Saints. With the Saints are going to be starting Spencer Rattler, it sounds like. So, that game was intriguing at first, but with the news that, we're not going to have Derek Carr there, like I just think that one gets I think it just gets a little bit out of hand and lopsided. And I'm kind of the same way with the Colts and the Titans. Anthony Richardson will be back, but the Titans haven't been good all year, and the Colts haven't been the greatest either. Eagles at the Browns. This feels like a get-right game for the Eagles. The Browns have been just horrific. But I think the Eagles win that one pretty handily. Texans and the Patriots, I think the Texans handle that one I think they handle that one by a big margin. Chargers Broncos, I think, is a defensive battle. And same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Raiders, man. A lot of those games, those offenses just haven't been getting it done. So I think we're really limited to those four games, and I really like those four games.
Yeah, so like you were saying, there's a lot of games with like an under 40. So it seems to be outside of those four games, not very much to me. I mean, I built my lineup around those four games, to be honest. So
yeah, I think there might be. I think I've got one player. Two players in my original first look lineup that's not from those four games that we mentioned. And I really focused on two of them, and that's the Cowboys Detroit. Actually, three: Cowboys Detroit, Falcons Panthers, and Ravens Commanders.
Same here. It's probably going to have pretty similar lineups, it sounds like. But one thing that kind of depressed me throughout the week was a number of injuries. If you don't mind, I'm going to read those off. It might take a minute because I counted up between the ones that are now playing this week but didn't play last week, the ones that are out and or doubtful. There's only one doubtful player, and the ones that are questionable. There's 24 players this week. So it is a slew. Let me read those off real quick. So we've got players that did not play last week that are back this week. Well, first of all, there was a bye week for Philadelphia, but so this would be in pertaining to week 4. Both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were out. They're back this week. Damian Pierce is finally playing. David Njoku and Noah Brown, the receiver for the Commanders. Out and or doubtful, Nico Collins went to IR this week. Derek Carr is going to miss several weeks. Malik Neighbors is out with a concussion. Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Gus Edwards, Ramondre Stevenson, Robert Woods, Taysom Hill, Josh Reynolds, Cordero Patterson, and Rashad White is the only doubtful. And last but not least are the questionable ones: Zamir White, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Christian Watson, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson, and Brian Robinson Jr. And that's your 24.
That's crazy. The injuries this year have just been just nuts. And like it's been bad for DFS, and it's been bad for season long fantasy. And the worst part about DFS is it's like they're anticipating all these people being out because all their backups are priced way up already. So it's like, what do you do?
Exactly. Did you have any low price players that you like for any of those I mentioned?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, there's really nobody. There's nobody that's like out or doubtful that I look at and I'm like, oh, okay, they're back up, and I'm like, oh man, like Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon was priced up last week for Jonathan Taylor. Bucky Irving. I mean, he's been a stud anyway when he does get the opportunities, but he's still, he's already priced all the way up. Nico Collins is out, but Stefan Diggs has been. I mean, even if you wanted to get to like Tank Dell still over 5K. I mean, there's one or two guys that are cheaper, but other than that, it's just wasteland for pricing.
I will give you one name and see what you think of it. So now that Robert Woods and Nico Collins are out, Xavier Hutchinson at 3,300.
See, and I don't mind that at all. But the problem with that is the fact that game is. It's just not. I mean, it's the Texans against the Patriots. I 100% believe that the Texans just get super far ahead. They're facing Drake May. It's his first in-game action this season. I mean, besides preseason, and it's not something that I don't really feel comfortable with it because I don't think Houston's gonna have to throw. I think the game script's going to be it's going to be run.
Yeah. I've not put together a lineup with Hutchinson because the news came out late this afternoon about Woods. But for 3,300, I'm willing to take a roll with it, and it saves you so much space elsewhere that even if he doesn't do much, it doesn't hurt you that much either, and you can save a lot of money. It's just my thoughts on it.
Well, and that's where like a Spencer Rattler comes in. He's stone men for quarterback. And at $4,000, I mean, because where I'm at the top of the slate for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But you put Spencer Rattler in there, and I mean, you get Saquon Barkley, you get CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you can really put a lineup together. So
you can. Sometimes it's worth the risk.
Yep. I mean, because if you're trying to win a big tournament, I mean, at 4K, I mean, all he needs is 15 points, which very well could get. But it depends on how you want to play.
Yeah, I'm guessing off the top of my head. I have some rushing yards, I would guess. So you get a little bit of a floor at least. So.
Well, and I mean, I guess I go back and think a little bit about Tampa Bay's defense. Tampa Bay's defense against Bo Nix. Not comparing Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler at all, but Bo Nix had his way with Tampa Bay's defense. They're not as good as they used to be. So They've got the firepower. They've got the firepower on the Saints. So I mean, if it's kind of looking like I said, if you wanted to go that route, you can afford so much more everywhere else. So I'd be kind of interested.
I'm sorry, Jordan. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'd just be kind of interested to see exactly what you can and can't get when it comes to that, just making that one switch lets you it gives you so much.
Well, the one advantage to me is having a guy like Alvin Kamara that he can just dump down, and might score one or two. I'm not going to call him cheap, but I mean, short yardage touchdowns. So.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's hit a quick commercial and then we'll jump into positions, roll through those. Here is a commercial by Durham Remodeling. Check them out. All your remodeling home needs.
Serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. And with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
All right. Longest sponsor, I believe, for the show. Durham Remodeling. Check them out if you need anything done to your home. All right, Brian. I'm intrigued to see what you like for quarterbacks. Let's see what we got here.
Well, hopefully ours are somewhat similar, but you mentioned that you were on the high end of quarterbacks, and we'll reveal our lineups here a little later. But my guy is Kirk Cousins for this week. He is sitting at, I believe, 6,300?
I believe so.
I think that's right. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, he is 6,200. Excuse me. Yeah, and they're facing the Panthers, who give it the 27th most fantasy points. So I like Cousins this week. Couple guys, I think if you're looking for two guys in the same game that are going to be at the top or near the top, you got to go with Lamar Jackson playing the Commanders, and in return, Jaden Daniels. But my concern is, for me anyway, one of you got Jackson at 7,800, and you've also got Daniels at 73, excuse me. And I'm not sure. I mean, the Commanders give up the 25th most points. Ravens give up the 23rd. But for me, it's going to be a little hard to price those guys in. So after that, I like Kyler Murray at the Packers, 6,800, 14th. Dak Prescott playing the Lions, 6,700. The Lions give up the 26th most points. I think my second favorite quarterback on the slate is actually Jordan Love, and he is sitting at 6,600, and facing the 24th most points given up. And last but not least for me is Jared Goff, the Cowboys, at 6,400, and the Cowboys give up the 18th most fantasy points. So I kind of tried to mirror Jordan from last week. It was our first week to do things together, and I noticed that he kind of streamlined a little bit for the purpose of the article. So I thought, well, why not try to pony off that and streamline a little bit myself? So those are the ones that went up on my shorter list.
Yeah, there's definitely, like I said, I agree with all those guys. I don't mind getting even a little bit lower than that. I don't mind taking a shot on Spencer Rattler just because, he's either going to have a really good game or even just a mediocre game gets him there. So I'm kind of interested to see where ownership projections come in at, because if he's super high owned, I'll all over him because a lot of people are going to do that. One guy that I don't mind that's kind of middle of the pack, Justin Fields. I know Russell Wilson is supposed to be back this week, but Fields likes to run, and the Raiders haven't been good all year long. The big thing for me here is that if Max Crosby pressures Fields, he's gonna tuck and run. So if Max Crosby's getting pressure, I think Fields finds some lanes, and I think if I was going to have a bold call, say that Justin Fields rushes for over 100 yards in this game. But if we're talking quarterbacks that I want in my lineup, I'm up there. I'm up there at the top. I like all the options, but I think I think the Commanders are for real, and I think Lamar is going to have to do a lot to put this game away. I think the Ravens come out, but yeah, I have Lamar in my first line. So it looks like Brian might have gotten booted. He's coming back. Add him to the stage again. And Brian, you back?
I am. Yeah, a little technical difficulty. So, like I told you on X, we're dealing with a change of address, and we have no TV and decent internet, but not always perfect. So, if you have any difficulties with me, I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're fine. My internet sucks most of the time too. Tonight it's actually doing pretty good. Knock on wood. But yeah, I was just saying that in my first look lineup, like I went to the top. I have Lamar Jackson in my lineup. I think that I really do think that the Commanders Baltimore game is going to be the best game of the early slate, and I'm really excited to watch it. And like I said, it pains me to say that because I'm a Cowboys fan. Jaden Daniels looks fantastic. That whole team looks good. So I'm really excited to kind of watch that game. I think it's going to be a back and forth shoot. Let's jump into running backs here.
Jackson with anybody?
I did put Jackson with Rashad Bateman, and the only reason why I did that is because of the salary. Like I said, what my lineup was looking like. I want running backs because there's three like mid-range running backs that just make your lineup work. I did have him stacked with Zay Flowers. I wanted to get to a better wide receiver. I wanted a top-tier receiver along with what else I had rolling. So we'll go through the lineup. I'm going to double check to make sure that it works. I'm pretty sure it's still the way I had things. Okay, cat. My cat loves to sit on my lap when I'm down here.
How expensive is Bateman?
$4,100.
Okay, so that's $2,400 difference there. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So yeah, but just I mean, you're taking a gamble. I mean, but I think they're going to have to spread the ball around. I think Lamar's going to have to do it with his arm. But I mean, hell, it could be a Derrick Henry game for all I know. I mean, that's what worries me is I think that I'm sitting here like, oh man, Lamar's going to have a great game, and who knows? Maybe Derrick Henry goes off, but.
I think the one thing we can predict for sure is the high score, but how it gets there, who knows?
Right. So that's why it's like, what do you do? But jumping into running backs here, I mean, there's a lot of good top tier options, and then there's good mid range options, and then like I said, the people who are out they're not cheap enough, so the backups just aren't cheap enough to get there. I love Saquon Barkley this week against Cleveland. I like Derrick Henry against Washington because, like we talked about, you don't know where you're going to go. With the news of Spencer Rattler starting for Derek Carr, I really like Alvin Kamara. I think he gets some dump passes. I'd be interested to see if Joe Mixon plays this week because I think that could definitely be another like run heavy game. He's at 6,900. I like both running backs from Detroit, Jahmyr Gibbs at 7,000 and David Montgomery at 6,500. And then after that, I'm kind of been in the mid range, and these are the two. I've got three running backs that I really, really like. That's Bijan Robinson at 6,600 going up against Carolina. Carolina is ranked in the top 5 against the rush. I like Tony Pollard from Tennessee. Same thing, Indianapolis. Their defense has been pretty steady to start the season, but Tennessee at home, and Pollard's been getting all the work. I mean, he's got, I think, 25 touches last game, something up there in the high 20s or the mid 20s. And he's only 6,000. I mean, I really like Tony Pollard this week. And then after that, Najee Harris was somebody else that I liked, but it's only if Jalen Warren is out. So if Jalen Warren's out, you can run on the Raiders. The Raiders, again, ranked in the top 5 against the rush, or I'm sorry, the bottom 5 against the rush. And if Warren's out and Harris gets all the work, I know we kind of saw that earlier this season. And Harris really kind of put up a dud, but you got to have a short memory here. But I think Harris is good for a cheaper running back. But yeah, then you talk about injuries. Like we talked, Trey Sermon, 6K. I mean, he's more than Najee Harris. And he's only played one full week where he's been lead back. So it blows my mind. Scrolling down, same thing, Bucky Irvin at 5,400. I mean, he's been good all year, but he's expensive. Antonio Gibson for Ramondre Stevenson, 5,300. I mean, usually there's always at least one person that you can get cheap for the salary. I guess I would say Joe Mixon is out. Damian Pierce at 4,900, but they've got three. I mean, they've got Damian Pierce, Cam Akers, and Ogumbawale. So it's like you really, are you going to get the whole backfield from those guys? But yeah, it's such a crapshoot down the bottom.
Yeah, for me, a name that I like to throw out there, I know that Pollard's been getting a lot of work, but Tajay Spears had 15 carries last week. He was inefficient, but he did score a 7-yard touchdown. And at 5,100 compared to 6,000, I'd rather have Pollard. But if I need the $900, which is a lot, then I don't mind rolling Tajay. And another name for me is Josh Jacobs at 6,700. Those are my two guys that are a little different than yours.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think they're going to be pretty.
Last one. I do have one last one. I'm sorry. Chuba Hubbard at 6,300.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of left him out. I left him out a little bit, but he's another guy who, he's a true 3-down back. I mean, he is getting all the work, and that's kind of what scares me off. Like Bijan Robinson, he's still, Tyler Algier's still there. So I mean, if you took out Bijan Robinson, because I had him in my lineup too to start, but if you took him out and pay down just a little bit, like go with the Chuba Hubbard or even a Najee Harris. I mean, in my lineup now, that gives me an extra $900 to play with, which I don't mind at all.
Exactly, and yeah, it's it's the contrarian play playing Chuba, but at the same time, they're expected to score 21 points, and it's not exceedingly high, but there's a lot of teams this week that have implied totals of less than 21, so it's still mid-pack, and I don't mind having a comeback player in that game against the Falcons. So
exactly. I gotta figure out what I just did. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I was taking this guy out of my lineup and put somebody else in there, and it completely and totally threw me off. What about? So I started running backs. What do you got, wide receivers, man?
Let's see here. So I tried to go with another condensed version, and let's find our list for this week. Let's see here. Bear with me, and I'll have us a nice list going on. All right, so my list at wide receiver. First of all, I don't think I can pay this high, but CeeDee Lamb is at 8,600 against the Lions. But you can work in Jalen Tolbert at 5,000 in the same game, and the Lions are surprisingly 31st ranked against the pass, so second to last. So I'm expecting some pretty good games. And Tolbert scored a touchdown against Pittsburgh last week. So I think he makes a nice play. Then you got St. Brown playing at the Cowboys. He's 8,100. And the Cowboys actually are decent against the pass, but crappy against the run. They're ninth. Then I got A.J. Brown. I don't like really Devontae Smith this week. He hasn't really been very good in the 3 games he did play. A.J. Brown's playing the Browns at 7,800. And then next, I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. at the Packers. He's sitting at 7,200. And the Packers are 24th against the pass. Next, his salary's really increased in the last, say, 2 to 3 weeks. But Jaden Reed playing the Cardinals, he's now at 7,000. And the Cardinals are 16th against the pass. I don't like Mike Evans this week. What's the name of the Saints DB that always covers him? Lattimore, right?
Yeah. Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, he seems to always shut him down. So I
Yeah,
don't
it seems
mind
like
Godwin.
every year.
Yeah, I don't mind Godwin. He's at 6,900. I really like both Falcons receivers, Drake London, Darnell Mooney. Their salaries are 6,700 and 5,300 respectively. Zay Flowers versus the Commanders, he's at 6,500. I'm touch and go about this play. I've got Terry McLaurin at the Ravens, 6,400. And then I've got the 2 Panthers receivers, Deontay and Leggett versus the Falcons. And they're at 6,100 and 4,900. And I mentioned him, Xavier Hutchinson, like I said, I kind of added late, and he's at 3,300. And those are my receivers for the week.
Yeah, I think we kind of already talked about Jalen Tolbert at 5K. I like that. I think honestly we were going through. I think the only guy that had, and this was my cheat play. I had 2 cheat plays, and that was Ray McLeod. So the number 3 receiver from Atlanta, that game, and he's been slowly taking away targets. And then the other one was Rashad Bateman. I just think that game's going to be a big back and forth game. I mean, he's 4,100. He's cheap. I mean, and he had I think it was his best game of the season last week. It's not going to let me see it. Last game, he had 8 targets, 4 receptions for 58 yards and a touchdown. So he performed better in away games than he has home games. And this is a home game, so I don't know what happens here. But yeah, I mean, unless some injury news comes out later in the week, I have no interest in anybody besides, like you said. I mean, you bringing up Xavier Hutchinson, like he's kind of like it for me. He's kind of like the lowest I think I'll go. I don't even think I'm going to get to him, to be honest with you. So it's just an interesting week.
I'm not sure I will either, but it's just one of those chances, kind of like we were talking about Spencer Rattler, that, if you don't get your 3 times, 4 times the salary, is okay. It really opens up a lot of paths to more expensive players, which ultimately that's what we want. So
yeah, that's the name of the game typically. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to work out. Where'd my other wide receiver go? I was looking at it. I had one of the games clicked, and I was like, "How come there's only like 6 wide receivers here?"
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want any of these guys. Oh, let's see here. Let's hit quick commercial real quick. We're doing pretty good on time. Hit a commercial from Ryan Allison Tattoo. Check them out. Dark Setting, 3rd Street in Davenport. Ryan Allison Tattoo.
My name's Ryan Allison. I've spent over a decade immersed in the art of tattooing. Sharply honing my skills has materialized into a diverse and prestigious body of work. Each tattoo reflects my relentless pursuit of excellence, and every client I work with is a living embodiment of that unwavering commitment. I will gladly and wholeheartedly embrace your distinct vision.
Check Ryan out. I've got an appointment with him coming up on Tuesday. Pretty excited. So I'm getting some more work done on my sleeve. Dark Side Inc., 3rd Street, Davenport. Get a hold of him, Ryan Allison Inc. All right, tight end position. This is kind of the same thing. I mean, I haven't paid up for a tight end all year long, and I don't know that I plan on starting to do that now. Jeez, wow. Holy cow. I sneezed out of my shoes. But yeah, I don't really plan on, I mean, tight end has just been kind of the spot where you've been able to pay down and really save some salary. But you do have a couple guys up at top. Brock Bowers, I like him. Is it Brock? I'm pretty sure. I haven't played him at all. So Brock Bowers at 6K. He's just been getting a ton of targets. Trey McBride comes back. Same thing, tons of targets. I'm kind of skipping over Sam Laporta, skipping over Dallas Goedert. Next person I like is Jake Ferguson. He's got a good matchup against Detroit. And at $5,000, he's not bad. A guy who went completely and totally off last week, Tucker Kraft. Huge salary jump, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it was like $35 or $37. He jumped up over $1,000 to $4,800. Huge week. He's got another good matchup here. If you like the Baltimore game, Isaiah Likely, he's taken over. Mark Andrews is the blocking tight end now. Isaiah Likely is more athletic, and they're even getting Charlie Kolar. I think it's Kolar.
Yeah,
They're
Kolar.
even getting him. Yeah, they're getting him more involved. So if you want to take a shot, he's only $2,800. But I don't mind that. Kyle Pitts, if you like Kirk Cousins, I don't mind that stack option there. Pat Freiermuth he's been the model of consistency. It seems like he always has like 4 catches almost every game. Game, 3 targets, 3 receptions for 22 yards. So it seems like he's always getting 3 or 4 passes thrown his way. But at $4,300, I mean, 9.8 points really doesn't get it done. David Njoku coming back for the first time since week 1. I'll kind of see how that game goes first. Dalton Schultz really hasn't gotten it done. Taysom Hill's out, so I don't mind like a security blanket as far as like Juwan Johnson or Foster Moreau go. So, and they're pretty cheap. But the 2 guys that I really like and where I've kind of been sitting is Zach Ertz at $3,700. He's part of that Washington-Baltimore game that I want. He's shown some flashes this year. He's had, I think, one game over 15 points. But then everything else has been kind of a dud. But just Baltimore, and I think Baltimore and the Commanders, I think the passing game is where it's at. And I'll probably be wrong, but I like Ertz. And then the guy that I had in my lineup is Cade Otton at $3,500. Going up against the Saints, I think Tampa Bay will have the ball a lot in that game, and he's been kind of the same as Pat Freiermuth. He's always good for about 4 or 5 targets, and usually catches them all. But then everything after that, I'm really not. Like I said, Charlie Kolar maybe, but everybody else, I'm not. I think the $3,000 to $3,500 range is where I'm at.
And you cut out a little bit, Jordan, but did you mention? I'm assuming you mentioned Cade Otton.
Yeah, he's the guy that I really like. He's in my first look lineup.
Okay, yeah, the names I've got on my list are exactly most of the ones you got on yours. I only had like 6 guys. Like I said, I kind of cut it down to condense things a little bit and be more fair, because
Mhm.
usually I list like 10, but I just listed 6, and so
Yeah, and
I don't have
I
anything
haven't.
else on my end.
Yeah, and I haven't even started my article yet. So this week's just it's been a long week. So I'm hoping to be able to have some time to get the article out here, either tomorrow night or Sunday morning would be probably ideal. Give you a little time to look over it. But yeah, I feel bad, but yeah, it's been a week, man. So jump into defenses. What do you like for
Don't feel bad.
defenses?
Yeah, don't feel bad about that. I took up, I think it was 2022. I wrote 3,500 words a minute plus 3 podcasts. So I did way too much. So I get you. You can't do everything. So for defenses, I like the Steelers at the Raiders, 3,700. I like the Texans at the Patriots, 3,600. I like the Eagles versus the Browns, 3,400. I like both sides of this. The Chargers at the Broncos, and obviously the Broncos versus the Chargers. They're sitting at 3,300 and 3,200. I like the Titans versus the Colts. They're at 2,800. And I realize this sounds exceedingly ugly, but it's also going to be part of my lineup. I like the Browns at the Eagles, and people are going to say, what? And the Browns are 2,600. But surprisingly to me, the Eagles give up the 24th most fantasy points to opposing offenses. So it's something I can go cheap with. Hopefully works, but cheap and fill more stuff. So, and that's it for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, I'm in the same boat. The only difference I've got is same price range as your cheap play around as the Buccaneers. So we talked about the what ifs. Spencer Rattler has a fantastic game. What if he really comes out and shows why he is a backup quarterback? I mean, defense is always a risk either way. If you look at kind of both of those teams, I guess if I was going to take a chance on a team, Jalen Hurts hasn't looked good all year, but he's also been without his top 2 wide receivers more often than not. So I think, it's to each your own. I mean, I hope it works. I really do. But yeah, I mean, and we've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen where the bottom defense on the slate comes out and has a game. I mean, we looked at like the Patriots in week 1, super cheap, and ended up dominating, a Bengals team that I thought was going to be pretty good this year to start. And it seems like they always have a slow start, and it's what it is. But yeah, I've got the Buccaneers locked into my defense right now.
How much are they?
27, same price as the Browns.
That makes sense.
What do you got for a lineup?
So like I said, there are just like 4 games that I'm kind of leaning towards. So it makes it an interesting lineup. There's just so many games that have a low over under. So my lineup, I've got Kirk Cousins, 6,200. My stack for the week is Darnell Mooney at 5,300. After that, at running back, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs against the Cowboys. He's at 7,000. Tony Pollard versus the Colts at 6,000. Wide receivers, I've got Zay Flowers and Jalen Tolbert, in addition to Darnell Mooney. Jake Ferguson for me versus the Lions at 5,000 at tight end. I went Deontay versus the Falcons at 6,100. And last but not least, we previously discussed the Browns. So I got the Browns at the Eagles, 26. Now, a couple of notes. I left $200 in cap space. Deontay is currently questionable. So if he does not play at the flex, I would throw in Chuba Hubbard. And last but not least, I already mentioned the point that about the Browns being kind of that surprise pick. But once again, the Eagles give up the 24th most points. So I'm willing to take a chance there. And that's my lineup.
I like it. Yep, that's kind of where I was. I was kind of hitting at that quarterback range, like Kirk Cousins range. When I first started kind of putting things together, I was kind of in the 6,600 to like the 6,000 range because I like Jordan Love again. But after kind of looking the way things were running and what games that I really wanted to be involved in, I've got here's my starting lineup. I've got my stack, Lamar Jackson at 7,800 with Rashad Bateman for 4,100. Then running backs, I've got Bijan Robinson at 6,600, Tony Pollard, which we both agreed on at 6,000. I've got a piece of the Cowboys game with CeeDee Lamb at 8,600. I've got a bring back for my Baltimore stack, Terry McLaurin at 6,400. I mentioned Rashad Bateman at 4,100. And I've got Cade Otton at 3,500, paired with the Buccaneers defense at 2,600. And then in my flex position, Ray McLeod at $4,300. So we're same games, just we've got two different outlooks on how it's going to go.
Yeah, you obviously you had to make adjustments on maybe an extra inexpensive player because you went 1,500 more with Lamar. But yeah, it's all well done, and we picked the right games, I think. So
yeah, I think the games are right. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not, I mean, is it going to be the number 2 guys? Is it going to be the number 1 guys? Is it going to be the the backups? But yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd be kind of intrigued to run both those lineups and just see, just to see kind of where they go. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah. So I paid up at quarterback, and then like I said, I jammed CeeDee Lamb in there. But I like Jalen Tolbert. He doesn't have an injury designation anymore, and I do like Jake Ferguson as well. So I mean, you could go. I could save myself a ton of money and go Tolbert over Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's kind of been for one of the better receivers in the league. He's kind of just been okay so far. He really hasn't had that breakout game, and I've been listening to a few podcasts, and they're just talking with like the CeeDee Lamb's coming, and I really do hope it's this week because I've got him in season-long fantasy in quite a few leagues as well. So I'll be interested to see what happens.
I think that's something that to consider if you're new to DFS is that when you pay up for both Lamb and Jackson, you're looking at, I think it was probably over 16 off the top of my head, high 15 if nothing else. You just got to keep in mind that you'll have to go with maybe one extra lower price player to make the lineup work, and that's okay. It's like my typical preference is I've only got like one inexpensive player. If I 1 to 2, you've probably got 3. So it just depends on your preference, and the nice thing about both of us is we're both very flexible. We don't go into any week considering, oh, this is my shut down for sure lineup method. I mean, we each have different methods each and every week, so it's rarely the same. I think you're a lot like me, is that I go inexpensive at tight end and defense when possible, and then work around it, and typically flex as well if I can. So
yeah, I usually, when I start my builds at the beginning of the week, and like I said, I always start my builds on like Wednesday, and I'll throw like I do what I think is going to be where everybody else is going. So I put together a lineup, and I don't get a single thing of news until I have a lineup that I like, and then I go and kind of compare myself to what the professionals and people who do this for a living do. And yeah, usually it starts with who do I like at quarterback, who do I want to stack them with, and then where's my cheap defense. And then from there, usually I'm left in the I'll look at like, okay, what injuries are out there, who's not practicing on Wednesday, who's got the good matchup, who's got the highest point total. So yeah, I've got a good approach to it. And then, by the time we come to Friday night and Saturday morning, it's all thrown out the window anyway because everybody gets injured or something happens to practice, and it's like, all right, well, so much for that. So,
and I think it's another important thing to point out. And you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jordan plays primarily the bigger tournaments, right?
so I play higher dollar amount tournaments, but I don't play like multiple entries. I play single entry tournaments. That way, if I do throw together a lineup that scores 160 points, well, the way I look at it is everybody else only has one shot at it as well. So if my lineup puts out 160 points in a contest where everybody else only got one lineup as well, that's why I can be more like, that's why I look at what everybody else is doing. So like right now, if you look at some of the ownerships for and this is, I've got a couple websites that I look at, but if you look at like some of the ownerships, Tony Pollard and Bijan Robinson are the top two owned running backs out there. So for people who are playing in single entry contests are going to build based off of what the field is doing as well. So if Tony Pollard and Bijan Robinson have a really good game, well, the chances are is that probably if there's let's do easy math. If I get into a contest with 1,000 people in it, the likelihood of those two both being in somebody's lineup is 20%. So you're talking 250 lineups are going to have those. So if they do really, really well, then I'm putting myself up into the top 250 already. And then you go based off of like okay, let's look at like wide receivers right now. The Atlanta wide receivers are both in the top 5 of ownership. Darnell Mooney and Drake London. So that's where my little twist comes on is I like Ray McLeod. So if Drake London and Darnell Mooney have a good game, I'm probably, is it going to destroy my lineup? No, because I don't have to be perfect. But if Ray McLeod has a good game, then that shoots me even farther up there. And then if you say I put K. Dotton, Lamar Jackson, and CeeDee Lamb in there, Lamar Jackson is the number one ranked, or he's the number one owned quarterback on the slate. K. Dotton is the number 2 ranked tight end on the slate. And then CeeDee Lamb is in the top 7 of wide receivers. So if a bunch of people are banking on R and K. Dotton and CeeDee Lamb, if I have all those guys as well, and our lineups are pretty much the same, then I know that those tournaments I've got a good shot at it. But where I really make my money is playing in the double ups. So I'll put together a lineup that is literally all based on ownership. So whatever I can fit in there for ownership, I try to get as high as I possibly can. I'll get like the number 1 ranked quarterback, 2 running backs in the top 5, at least 2 wide receivers in the top 5, either the top 1 or 2 tight end, and then the top 1 or 2 defense. And I know that if I build that lineup right there and put it into a double up, everybody else is going to have that lineup too. There's and the funny part is those are those have like 5,000 content or 5,000 people in them, and you'll see people who are playing. They're playing on the off chance that say Andy Dalton has a really good game against Atlanta. I mean, you're getting those guys who are putting together tournament based lineups, like they're playing low ownership guys in should be a high ownership contest. So there's a whole method. There's a methodology. I usually build a cash game lineup, and then I build a lineup that I'll put into tournaments that's just a little bit different than what my cash lineup is. So we talked about this lineup here with Lamar, Bijan, Tony Pollard, Terry McLaurin, Ray McLeod, Rashad Bateman, K. CeeDee Lamb in the Bucs defense. I might change it up and go with Jalen Tolbert over CeeDee Lamb, and just make it so I have a better a flex option. So, just a little twist off what I'm doing for all my cash stuff, because then if that works out, then it works out. So,
And to me, that's the thing to keep in mind. Jordan plays both the cash as well as the tournaments. I play most of the cash games. So a lot of mine are like 50-50. The 50-50s where half of the field pays. And so my lineups are going to look a little different than a tournament lineup. That's the fun about DraftKings is you can play anything your heart desires. So.
Yep. And so I'll tell you right now that last week, I was right on the cusp of cash the whole time. And then Kyron Williams, who was super high owned last week, got 100 yards. So it gave him the boost. So it kicked me. I was cashing. I was breaking even like $90. And then I dropped out of all my double ups because Kyron Williams was super high owned. And I had Kenneth Walker, who was high owned as well, but not as high owned as Kyron Williams. So everybody who played Kyron Williams cashed out, and I didn't. But what I've been doing is playing, you can create contests and play head-to-head against people. I create, the first thing that I do every week is I enter, there's like 2 or 3 free contests every week on DraftKings. I enter those, and that's where I start building my lineup. And then the lineup that I like for my cash games, I import that into everything that I do. But I start with the free lineups, and then I create 20 head-to-head contests. They're just $1 a piece. Make sure when you create them, there's an exposure to how many times somebody can play against you. Make sure it's always default at unlimited. So that means you could end up playing all 20 contests against the same person. Make sure you change that to 1, because then you'll play against 20 different people. But that's what saved me some of my entry fees yesterday. Or last week. I entered $93, and my head-to-heads, I won 11 of them. So I won over half of my head-to-heads with a crappy lineup that didn't cash anything else. And instead of losing all $93, I saved myself $20. So,
oh wow,
I
did the same thing with free lineups to start my weekly lineup. That's what I do too. So
yeah,
we have a lot of thoughts in common. So.
Right. So they only pay out. Like it's a free contest. So there's hundreds of thousands of people in there, and they're only paying out like the top one. And they're only single entry. So that's what I'm saying. So you don't have to be perfect. So if you throw together a lineup that by some happens chance 200 points, guess what? They're usually paying out like $1,000 to first place. So if you just so happen to hit that, which is like hitting the lottery, hey, guess what? You just got a free $1,000 for nothing.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, we'll have to do a little strategy talk with the folks every week. I think that's fun. So
yeah,
Jordan,
like I said,
unless you got anything, I'm anything else, I'm good to go. I'm
on the same boat, man. So I'll hit out with the closing, and then we'll go from there. So I had a good time. I appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on. I know you got some stuff going on, so we'll end it there. We'll be back again next week, hopefully at the regular time, 7 o'clock. Don't forget to tune in with the guys on Sunday at 10 o'clock on the For Frequency's Sake Network. As always, man, good luck this week.
Yeah, good luck in all your games, and you can always check out our web page on X as well. That would be for frequency sake. So.
Yep. All right, man.
Y'all have a great week. Signing off.
This has been a For Frequency Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.